Okay, basically it's looking at the structures of Yiddish and Kabbalistic semiosis and how this provides strategies for survival. Yiddish, the Yiddish word for Jewish, is the original international language of Ashkenazic Jews, the Jews of Central and Eastern Europe and their descendants. Originating somewhere between 1900 and whatever, primarily as a spoken language, is a hybrid of Hebrew and medieval German with a unique grammatical structure criticized as barbarous, mutilated, ghetto jargon that was a barrier to Jewish acceptance in German society. At its height, less than a century ago, Yiddish was understood by an estimated 11 million of the world's 18 million Jews and their primary language. Today, most Jews know only a smattering of Yiddish words, and most of those words are unsuitable for polite company. But in recent years, Yiddish has experienced a resurgence of Yiddish studies departments at universities and online courses, worldwide conferences, music festivals, Broadway productions, movies, books, and TV shows, not only in an attempt to regain touch with one's heritage through this nearly lost language, but I would posit, because of its bizarre grammatical structure, it offers a way of saying the unsayable, speaking the unspeakable, affording Jews the ability to hide in plain sight. Affectionately referred to as Mama Lushan, which means mother tongue, as it was the language of women and children, to be contrasted with Loshen Kodesh, the holy tongue of Hebrew that was studied only by men. In a way, it could be seen as a pre-Seksuvian feminine écriture, a secret proto-feminist power tool exposing how transformation and change is effected through structures of language. For many centuries, it thrived by developing its own unique rules and pronunciations, developed a rich vocabulary of terms for the human condition, but most significantly, through structured through humor, irony, a palimpsesting of socio-historic linguistic codes, reprocessed with a variety of shading techniques for speakers of Jewish. Communication literally becomes an anti-hegemonic play of signification. Between German, Hebrew, Aramaic, Polish, and Russian, multiple cultures and traditions, renditions and recodings, coupled with conversational habits marked by transgression, invasion, and contradiction, meaning slips between difference, appliance, appearance, and literally never says what it seems to be saying. According to etymologist and communication theorist Michael Wex, the Yiddish language is inscribed in derailment, evasion, avoidance, where the norm is not to be clear, but to seduce and lead astray, say the reverse of whatever has been said. For example, to say, hi, how are you? Shalom aleichem, the answer is alechem shalom. Answers are answered with a question, repetition, circumlocutions, interruptions, and insertions. To. Compliments are avoided in favor of their opposite. These backward constructions also stem from the fact that Yiddish speakers function by the lunar calendar, where night precedes the day. And as the written language itself is read left to right, both the word and the day literally start backwards. In 1920s Romania, there's a Sabbath ritual called the Backwards March, where participants would literally not only talk, but walk backwards from the week. Celebrating multiplicity, disagreement, and relying heavily on wordplay for the Yiddish speaker, each foray into communication is mired in irony, trickery, allusion, euphemism, highlighting the fact that not only can you never say what you mean or mean what you say, but you should never say what you mean, because naming something such as cancer, leprosy, pig could bring it into existence. Drenched in the superstitious belief such evasion is a way to guard against calamity. We are surrounded by demons who are there only to turn good fortune to horror, success into failure. To speak in evasion and opposition was an attempt to ward against the evil eye, the ayin hora, trick, and reroute the negative forces, and more significantly, speaking in secrets and codes was a way to hide within your language out of fear of exposure. Most Yiddish idioms used are phrases culled from the Torah, Gemara, or Jewish culture. For example, the word for toilet paper literally is a part of the prayer, blessing your holes. A loose woman is called a mezuzah because she is touched and kissed by everyone. Or the word for a woman who performs oral sex is a moilt, which is the same word used for the person who performs a circumcision and sucks the blood out of the wounded foreskin. So, though using the sounds of German, yet inscribed in slippery euphemism, the idiomatic secrets and codes become a safe space, a protective shelter, where the Yiddish speaker is able to simultaneously be a part of and apart from dominant culture. In one sense, these euphemistic sayings operate like McLuhan probes that tease, squeeze, and push, titillating the receiver to explore further, and particularly as the sayings are integrally tied into religious or cultural ritual, speaking, meaning, being, thinking, feeling, and behaving are literally inextricably entwined. Darkly ironic, highly coded, and full of insult, Yiddish is what one might call a deflationary language. For example, there's like 20 different ways to parse out the stupidity of others. He's not the brightest candle in the menorah. She was behind the door when the brains were being given out. He operates like a wise person. At night, he should lie in the ground and bake bagels. Meaning, of course, nobody's there to eat them. And even though it's all pulped up, pressed, and reproduced itself through performative memory, establishing its own force and affect, like a messy Baba Misa, an old wives' tale, finding its margins, wearing its Talmudic lenses, waving its big yichus balls, it's groaning under the weight of its reference. And though secret polyglottal proby trobes, Yiddish operates like a translingual spliced polysemic undead dippic, all transubstantiated with accents and inflections of radical necessity, all dressed up to be messed up, has a burden to bear, schleps its syntactic furniture from the undead to the undead. And like McLuhan's probe, not the package, this sense of play inherent in the very structures of the language truly exposes language as a system of sequence, infinitely divisible, porous, permeable, and indeterminate, and how meaning remains a secret within a secret that only another secret can reveal. This sense of play and shade is also evident in the Kabbalah, 13th century Jewish mysticism. As outlined in the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, and the 2nd century Sefer HaBahir, the Book of Illumination, the world was created and comprised of language, white light on black light, the oral and the written simultaneously unfolding, text into sound, into light, and the letters enshrouded in darkness are seen as a manifestation of light. Impossible to fully separate dark from light facts, refictioned in an infected lex or inflected flex, and all becomes a spectrum of flickering lack of fractal facts of difference, contingency, and resistance. Further, as evidenced by the latest translation of the Zohar, its language is full of neologism and linguistic borrowings with intentional grammatical mistakes and wordplay on rabbinic and biblical passages, comprised of commentary, summary, analysis, conversation, and Aramaic poetic infusion. Its ideas are often paradoxical and contradictory, referring to esoteric concepts that are never fully spelled out. So resisting a totalitarianistic univisionist mode, but instead invites the reader to play inside the lexical excess, the flirty flexicon of fixity mixes in a nexus diexis of lexically sugared circuits inside the sonoric and material aspects of language, history, tradition, mixing the unmixable, for according to, I'm almost done, the holiness code, to mix is to engage in a holy act. A holy act, yes, but maybe even more importantly, this mixing, this play of language, culture, codes is a means of survival. I have more, but I think it's a time probably. If you want more, there's more. Bye. Thank you.